I want to focus on Rick
running.
Pitino. And Stephen A., I'll start with you. What this means ultimately for his legacy. Now, we know what he's accomplished on the court, but is it tarnished?
I don't think this particular ruling tarnishes him, but that FBI investigation that ultimately ended up costing him his job, I think he's tarnished forever. I think his career in college basketball is over, which is very sad. This is a man that's a champion at 2 different universities, went to a Final Four with 3 different universities, has won 74% of his games, not just overall, but at Louisville as well. He was a phenomenal coach, but clearly he got a bit comfortable. There's no other way to slice this. When you hear about this scandal, when you hear about the FBI investigation and what that ultimately caused in terms of his dismissal, you take all of those things into account. You do find yourself stepping back and saying, "What the hell were you doing? How could you be this sloppy? How could you get this comfortable?" You're talking about at one point in time, no university in America raked in more money than Louisville's athletic program. They were #1 for several years, just raking in dough. And I think, obviously, power corrupts, absolute power corrupts, absolutely, as they say. And when you're making those kind of dollars and bringing that into the university doesn't tell you what to do. You tell the university what to do. And so when you look at it in terms of the stories that you've heard about Rick Pitino recruiting, there were players or a player or two that he brought to his program that never even visited the campus. But somehow, some way, they end up playing for Louisville basketball. Well, how is it that somebody never visited you, but they end up playing for your program? How does that happen? Because of connections. And how did those connections take place? And what did you do to facilitate those connections? These are all the things that get asked, particularly when you are a big-name college coach. Rick Pitino knew this. And to know this and to know that that could potentially put the microscope on you, and for you to just operate accordingly without a care in the world, it seemed, arrogance is the word that comes along with it, because you just started feeling yourself. Your athletic director was guilty of it too, and the 2 of you were running the show, and now the 2 of you are gone.
Start to feel untouchable.
It's like Tom George and him were the modern-day Sopranos.
Yeah.
To a certain degree. I'm able to compartmentalize this into 3 buckets. Number one, as far as coaching, brilliant. Brilliant, one of the best we've ever seen.
Without
Some of the things he's been able to do, X's and O's, incredible.
Yep.
The player perspective. As a player, I've known Rick. I love Rick. I've had players rave about him, about things he's done to help change their lives, jobs he's helped people get after school, the environment he's put them in to help them overall succeed. From a legacy perspective, though, it's forever tarnished. And look, this is the reality of the measure for me. As my own person, okay? If I got a speeding ticket that got publicized to everybody that I was going 100 miles per hour in a 50-mile-an-hour zone, people are going to look at me and go, well, there's a history of reckless behavior. There's a history. So when you start looking at the history of Rick Pitino off the court, the blackmail situation. Now, people, I understand how you Louisville fans say, well, he was blackmailed. Well, he had an affair with his assistant's wife. That starts the conversation. Like, that's on him, okay? Then you go into the Katrina Powell situation that's occurred. Then you go into the FBI situation. I don't see how your legacy could not be forever tarnished being associated with those 3 things. But once again, I'm able to look at them through 3 different prisms.